And it's really important, it's right at the right time, when you have folks like Jenny, a young woman from my hometown, who went through the entire school experience. In the States, it gives you access to a free and, in quotes, appropriate education, the appropriate part we can argue about, until someone is 21 years of age. And we managed to muck it up such that Jenny gets to be 21 and no one has talked to her about employment. She has no image of herself as a part of what it means to have an adult life in her society, that she would go to work. She would go to program, that's been pretty well fixed in there, but not go to work, that has not been. Not for Jenny, not for her parents, not for her neighbors, not for her service community. You know, so you've basically got a young woman who we have perfectly designed not to go to work. And now all of a sudden, people like me in the States, people like you in Britain are saying, yeah, this work is a pretty good idea. And it's an integral part of getting a life is. Work is a part of that. It's a mainstay. And then you approach someone like Jenny and you ask a question. Seems to be a perfectly interesting question to answer. Seems to be a perfectly respectful question to ask. Jenny, do you want a job? To which she thinks you have just asked her the funniest question that one human being could ask of another. Moi? Me? I don't think so. Work? Why? You know? Now there's an interesting issue that we have to face, because self-determination has told us we respectfully ask people what they want to do. And if they don't, then what? You know, does Jenny get to opt out because we ask her a perfectly terrible question? Terrible? Mm-hmm. I've just gone through transition with my daughter who doesn't have a disability. It would have been the scariest question as a parent I think I could possibly ask my daughter, to ask her if she wanted to work. Because she's smart enough to know, if he's asking me if I want to work, either answer must be appropriate. I can say no. And you know, think of a teenager, think of a young adult thinking, you mean I can actually have a life that I don't even have to work? How pleasant is that? I'll bet it's the same in your country as mine. For young people who don't experience disability, they're automatically opted in. And the only way out, now, what's the converse of that? Mike, are you saying that in the States you force young people to go to work? I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying they're automatically opted in. The only way my daughter can opt out is to say, Daddy, I don't want to work. And my first question is, what are you going to do then? You know, what's the alternative? No one could force her, no one should force her to work. But the fact that we opt people in, I think, is a big part of what getting a life is. I want you to realize how important it is to have a presumption of employment. Because without it, it's going to need to be, I mean, then we're always going to be fighting those forces that, by the way, have all the money, all the resources in our society. Because that's where the Jennies of the world will go. They'll go and then they're going to use our own values against us. They're going to say, Jenny chose to be here. You tell her she can't be here. You like self-determination. You guys invented it, so live with it. That's her choice, you know? So we've got to be really clear about where we're going. And one of the best ways to deal with that is just understand how society works. And with the expectation. But now once we've got the expectation that society has, it's still complex. Because if we go to Jenny and say, okay, Jenny, you're 21, it's time to go to work. Or you're 19, or the age difference will change in our societies and at families and communities. So let's not worry about the age necessarily, but let's do worry about the transition that occurs from your preparation for life to your doing of life. And if Jenny has to be competitive, we're then going to have this crisis of faith when we go out and we start kind of taking Jenny around to these various standards, all set pretty high. And the employers or the life says, sorry, she's not competitive. Well, what about if we've got great supports and great training and great expectations? Sorry, she's still not meeting my need. That's where Jenny is kind of every woman for the need to have this extending concept of customizing our supported employment. Will she need support? Absolutely. Is it likely to be enough? Not in my guess. She's likely to need something else. And so what we're talking about here in customized supported employment is much what Steve was referring to this morning, is this process that we can't just kind of go out there. And let's don't worry about all the details. Let's just go get Jenny a job. If you do that, you may get an employer to say yes, only a couple of weeks later to have the employer say this was a terrible idea. You know, probably not much longer than a couple of weeks. But if you can get to know her and really understand who she is, and we're going to talk a bit about discovery as we go through, and then we can take the unique contributions Jenny has to offer to specific needs that exist in the workplace. Turns out she can start by having a pretty good 1.5 year run on a job where she was making a specific contribution to keep a machine running that happened to fit a wonderful interest of hers, which was opening boxes, that her 9-year-old brother helped us with during discovery by noting that Jenny opened Christmas presents better than anybody in the family. And we translated that mundane activity that happens on Christmas morning across the world, or most of the world anyway, to a business term to where an employer could say, I've got some boxes that need to be opened. Would Jenny be interested in opening boxes for me? It's one of the things she loves more than anything. And she's got the skill, by the way, we know she does. And the relationship was a great relationship. 1.5 years, why only 1.5 years? Because life is uncertain, you know. We don't know if we're going to make it home this afternoon. Every one of us hopes we will, but who knows what's going to happen once we leave. And what happened in Jenny's case was life. The employer that really saw her contribution died. The next employer that comes in doesn't have the same look at things. So Jenny needs another job. And this will happen in life. Happens to all of us. And so for the last 8 years now, she's been working at a local natural gas supplier in our community. And that employer has an array of needs. I mean, what it turns out is when you look at workplaces and start analyzing needs, you find all these things that go undone. This was one of the primary needs that happened in this workplace for Jenny was this is a company that sells natural gas, butane, propane products. And the company that Jenny works for sells that conversion, trying to sell their natural gas product. And in our country, when you do that, the government wants to be sure that health and safety concerns are taken care of, and they do that through a mailing process of all of the safety information is supposed to be mailed by what we refer to as certified mail, which says the postal person, the delivery person gets a signature from the recipient, say, I've got this information. That way the company will know that it's been delivered and it's up now to the purchaser to read the safety information and obviously to apply it. Well, this is a good company. How could it be that none of the certified letters of all the safety information got mailed? How could it possibly be? Because it's the real world. Because even in a well-run workplace, things go undone. And so Mr. Blossman, who owns the company, was thinking, gosh, if I could assure that every one of my certified letters gets out, I don't have the government coming in threatening to fine me for not getting them out. That's the business case. If you want to know the business case, it's not does the gas company have an opening that Jenny can fill. A, they didn't, and B, she couldn't. But they had a need, and she can meet the need. And if we look around the workplace and find other needs, we can start putting together a customized job description based on the blending of the employer's needs with Jenny's specific skills. It is strictly legal in the United States, and best we can tell, it's strictly legal here in Britain.